Alexander reads the invitation from Roman Dmitri about the new aura system and boils in anger. The invitation letter says the aura emission technique developed by Alexander, Emperor of Kronos, was wrong from the very foundation. To redefine this system of aura and announce a new direction for swordsmanship, this gathering has been arranged. Please everyone attend this event, and be part of this historic moment. After reading the invitation, Alexander burns the letter in anger towards Roman Dmitri. Aura was Alexander's reverse scale. His pride. It was a matter of untouchable pride. If Alexander hadn't been just an ignorant fool, but a true martial master, even if he had simply learned what martial arts truly were, his life would have been completely different. Screaming in anger, Alexander asks, do my achievements seem so petty and worthless to Roman that he would dare to call them fundamentally wrong? Inferiority, rage, jealousy, and a torrent of indescribable emotions boiled inside him. In the auditorium of the Salamander Continent Swordsmanship Association, a tense atmosphere hangs in the air. One of the members addresses the others, his tone a mixture of disbelief and anger. He recounts how Roman Dmitri has brazenly denied the achievements of His Majesty, Emperor Alexander of the Kronos Empire. As if that were not enough, Dmitri also sent an invitation to a swordsmanship presentation, an act perceived as a mockery to all swordsmen on the continent. The crowd murmurs, questioning Roman Dmitri's motives for such a provocative presentation. Another swordsman declares that this is a direct challenge to all aura swordsmen. Amidst the escalating tension, Sergei, the head of the Swordsmanship Association, steps forward. He informs the assembly that Roman Dmitri has gone so far as to deny the very existence of aura itself. Sergei warns that if they stand by idly, the Swordsmanship Association will eventually lose its standing. Therefore, he proclaims, they must all attend the presentation. If there is even the slightest flaw in Dmitri's demonstration, they must crush the reputation of the man who dares to speak such nonsense. Not only the Swordsmanship Association, but every nation except for the Dmitri family held doubts. Dmitri's vassal, Baron Comrade, says the news of the swordsmanship presentation caused an uproar across the continent. Do they even need to persuade anyone anymore? If the redefinition of aura truly takes place through this presentation, it may instead lead to the unwanted leakage of valuable techniques. Another vassal says he thinks the same. The techniques unique to Dmitri should not be shared with outsiders. Hearing the vassals bickering, Roman Dmitri stays silent as his mind wanders back to his past life. Namgun Jinshin, once praised as the greatest genius in the Namgun clan's history, witnessed the downfall of the righteous martial world. The sword of the Namgun clan, once proud of being the best, was shattered by Baekjeon, Hyo. The sight he showed that day was seared deeply into Namgun Jinshin's mind. As the saying goes, know your enemy and know yourself, and you will never be defeated. Know yourself and you shall never be defeated. Namgun Jinshin wanted to completely understand the demonic cult by mastering the martial arts that formed the foundation of the heavenly demon, Baekjeon, Hyo. When he thought he might achieve the same level of growth. A year, 2 years passed. When 10 years had passed, he finally realized the martial arts of the demonic cult weren't anything special. It was just that Baekjeon, Hyo himself was extraordinary. In frustration and anger, Namgun Jinshin asks the heavenly demon just why did he reveal his martial arts. 10 years. Even after struggling for 10 years to master the demonic arts, Namgun Jinshin couldn't even reach the tips of the heavenly demon's toes. He asks the heavenly demon if he wanted people like him to realize the gap and fall into despair. Baekjeon, Hyo says that's exactly what he wanted. As time passes, the memory of defeat fades. Those who forget their place will eventually challenge him, and he revealed his martial arts to show them an insurmountable wall and crush their will. To fail to remember that day will only grow resentment toward the heavenly demon divine cult. Baekjeon, Hyo says he wanted them to study the martial arts of the demonic cult, and realize firsthand how great their achievements truly were. The heavenly demon tells Namgun Jinshin to remember that despair. If he lacks the resolve to overcome that despair, then he should kneel down and bow his head. For above all in the martial world stands the heavenly demon divine cult, and he must accept the truth that he, the heavenly demon Baekjeon, Hyo, exists. After that, until the day that heavenly demon died, no one in the martial world ever dared to rebel again. Roman says that what he intends to reveal through the swordsmanship presentation is merely the foundational principle. He will redefine aura, and seize the fame that Alexander built. He will etch the name of Dmitri into a page of history. The latecomers will never surpass them. They will only know the fragments, while the truth belongs solely to Dmitri. Roman tells his vassals not to fear revealing it. By revealing it, they will create an entirely new era. A few days later, at the Dmitri Castle presentation area, we are introduced to the King of Drake, Umberto. Clearly annoyed, He asks if Roman Dmitri developed techniques far superior to the current system. Why on earth would he invite even the Kronos Empire to witness it? Another one says, Lord Roman may have considered even the new Aura system as information worth sharing with others. Umbert asks, what does he mean by that? He says, a being born with the qualities of a conqueror king, that is Lord Roman's true nature. Through this presentation, if he steals the title of the first pioneer from Alexander, then Dmitri will no longer be seen as a frontier of Cairo, but as the land that produced the one who redefined the system of Aura. At that moment, one soldier announces, Lord Roman Dmitri is entering. Roman enters the presentation. With composure, Roman Dmitri stated that Alexander's method of emitting aura is flawed. He explained that while releasing mana can manifest a powerful aura through its explosive force, it is a highly inefficient method. Unrefined bursts of mana lead to indiscriminate release, which is inherently inefficient. Roman then addressed the audience, questioning why they had never challenged Alexander's method. Was it because he was the first pioneer, or because it's a system everyone follows, as if it were absolute truth? Hearing Roman's words, Sergei clenched his fists and gritted his teeth in anger, as Roman was openly belittling Lord Alexander. Roman continued, aura and magic are no different. Magic stacks mana in circles, refines it, and then manifests it as spells. He posed the question, so why didn't anyone think to stack aura like a circle? He announced that what he was about to show everyone was not indiscriminate emission, but a method utilizing a storage space akin to a magic circle, the Dantian. As Roman began to release his aura, he explained that this method allows for the precise use of mana depending on the situation. Sergei was stunned to see the aura rise calmly on Roman's sword, remarkably quiet release of power. A large block of rock was brought into the presentation area. Roman casually swung his sword, and the rock was cleanly cut in half. The way of releasing mana from a storage space is called magic, Roman stated. He then proceeded to cut the rock into small pieces, a feat that deeply shocked everyone present. I call the act of releasing mana from the Dantian martial arts, Roman declared. The power of martial arts that originates from the Dantian. No matter how much one denies it or turns away from reality, the revolution of swordsmanship that overturns the old system has already begun. With his presentation concluded, Roman announced, I will take questions. President of the Swordsmanship Association raises his hand and introduces himself. He tells Roman his theory just now was quite impressive. Using the Dantian as a mana storage like how mages do is indeed a good idea. However, there are some practical issues with it. He asks Roman how exactly does he plan to guide the free, flowing power of mana into the Dantian and make it remain bound there. Even circles confined to the heart full of life energy take too long to activate, making them unsuitable for swordsmanship. If Roman cannot solve these problems, then his theory is nothing more than a delusion. Roman ignores Sergei's provocation, and says this question can be answered by considering why he chose the Dantian as the storage space for mana in the first place. Mana circulation through the body has several points where it stays temporarily. First, the upper Dantian, the brain. Second, the middle Dantian, the heart. Third, the lower Dantian below the navel. The upper and middle Dans are generally unsuitable as mana storage, but the lower Dantian is different. Roman says he will share the experimental results regarding the stability of mana stored in the lower Dantian. Hearing Roman's explanation, Sergei gets flustered and says, then rather than declaring it completely wrong, shouldn't they consider merging it with Lord Alexander's aura technique to enhance its explosive power first? If the two methods could work together, there might be a positive result. With an arrogant tone, Roman says, no, the premise was wrong from the very start. Once a Dantian forms, mana obeys complete control. Even without reckless bursts, one can still wield a powerful aura. Roman asserts that Alexander's theory is wrong. This time, Sergei couldn't hold back and stood up, screaming, then why is Roman revealing this theory to everyone, and even inviting the Kronos Empire, who are enemies of the Dmitri family? Isn't there some ulterior motive behind this? What are Dmitri's intentions? Roman laughs and says, there is no special reason. The Kronos Empire keeps sending spies to steal Dmitri's techniques over and over again. So he merely prepared this event so they wouldn't have to suffer doing so. Through this presentation, Roman hopes that every nation except Dmitri will accept the new system and develop further. Hearing Roman, Chris's heart began to pound. At first, it was a faint tremor, but soon it throbbed so fiercely that he could no longer control it. A being who leads the flow regardless of the current trend. A being who acts upon what he believes is right. That is exactly the master Chris serves. Chris gets excited, and thinks if one day he surpasses his master, that position will surely be the greatest on the continent. Roman tells everyone this concludes the presentation. At the Kronos Empire, Alexander ponders the new aura system to store inner energy in the dantian. If aura can truly be used like a circle, then the possibilities could be endless. Alexander remembers in his past life someone told him martial arts are simply the flow of energy within the body. Now that he thinks about it, the man who called himself a martial artist looked shabby. And though he spoke arrogantly, he never once mentioned the word dantian. To think Alexander studied aura based on that nonsense, what a waste of time. But since Roman clearly mentioned dantian and martial arts, he must be a top-tier martial artist from the Murim world. Alexander wonders from which sect among the countless ones does Roman come. Is it the Orthodox faction, the unorthodox faction, or the heavenly demon divine cult? Can someone like Alexander, who has no connection to Murim, uncover Roman's true identity? Alexander decides it doesn't matter. Whatever Roman was in his past life, here on the Salamander continent, he is nothing more than a trivial being. Alexander is the one who created something out of nothing with just the fragment of knowledge Roman revealed. Alexander decides he will show Roman clearly what results it can produce. Alexander then calls for Mystic. He tells Mystic to give orders to the spies currently infiltrating Dmitri. By any means, find out everything about Dmitri's martial arts. Thus, a revolution of aura had begun. Roman's presentation turned the continent upside down. People ask one another what will happen to the existing aura swordsmen. Now if they adapt to the change, they will survive. But if they don't, they will be left behind. Even the ranking system will undergo a massive upheaval. At that point, people began to wonder, what is the Dmitri family really thinking? Why is Roman Dmitri freely revealing something this incredible? At a bar, one says, who cares about that? What is clear right now is that the balance of power is going to shift dramatically toward Dmitri. If one doesn't want to fall behind the times, one must go to Dmitri. The Duchy of Dmitri was no longer a frontier state, but called a holy land for swordsmen. The continent's two strong pillars, for the first time in history, shifted into a three-way struggle, and cracks began to form. In the Dmitri Duchy, in a back alley, we see a suspicious-looking individual. With a communication device in hand, he tries to communicate with someone. We are introduced to Scott, a spy of the Kronos Empire. He asks through the communication device, stealing Dmitri's martial arts information. Is it right to carry out the mission under Kronos' order in this situation? Roman Dmitri exists beyond common sense. Not only did he ignore the presence of spies, he even exposed the information they were trying to extract. From the other side, someone tells Scott for now he should stay in Dmitri and watch the situation. If Dmitri truly is a country with the power to overthrow Kronos and they become convinced they need to get their family in Kronos to safety, they might have to find a way to evacuate them. Pyrrhus congratulates the new soldiers on becoming Lord Roman Dmitri's personal guard. He says from now on, through a simple procedure, Dmitri will officially record that they have become a personal guard. Looking at the paper, Scott wonders, is his number 98? One by one, the numbers are called, and when Scott's number is called, he enters the tent. The clerk tells Scott to sit down, and asks, age 38 this year, Mr. Scott from the Kingdom of Umberto. Is that correct? Scott replies affirmatively. The clerk continues, as you know, Lord Roman's personal guards hold a very special post. A monthly salary of 30 silver will be paid. In special situations, like war, a life allowance will be added. The clerk then asks Scott if he has a family, to which Scott replies that he does. Who are your family members and where do they live? The clerk inquires. Scott states that he has a wife and a son, and they live in Kronos. The clerk says that matches the information they found. Hearing this, Scott is shocked and scared. The clerk explains the reason for asking is simply for their records, but Scott begins to pray to get through the situation safely. The clerk then informs Scott that if he dies while carrying out his duties, his family will receive compensation as a national meritorious benefit. Scott is very surprised to hear this. With a very serious tone, Scott asks the clerk, having family in the Kronos Empire is not a problem, is it? Smiling, the clerk assures him it's not a problem at all. After Scott leaves the tent, he remembers the clerk's words, as long as you don't create problems yourself, your past doesn't matter. The scene shifts to the Dmitri workshop, where we are introduced to Master Blacksmith Hendrik. He says to Scott, they said you were a mercenary in the wars. You are certainly in good shape. Hendrik inspects Scott and continues, however, the length of your legs is slightly uneven, causing a bit of misalignment, and your fingers are short, so thick handles might be a bit difficult for you. That's the issue. Scott is shocked that Hendrik could discern such details. Hendrik tells Scott, since you are the young master's personal guard, we must make custom gear for you. Surprised to hear about custom gear, Scott asks, does that mean all the personal guards get custom aid gear? That can't be cheap. Hendrik explains, here in Dimitri, Lord Roman's direct forces are very special. The young master always fights on the front lines, and it is the duty of his direct forces to support him. Therefore, these small aids we provide can increase the soldier's chances of survival. Scott wonders to himself, are they showing this sincerity just because I am part of Roman's direct forces? Is this why they show such earnestness? Hendrik declares that he will put his name on it, and present the best armament for Scott. The training of the new personal guards begins. Chris tells the new soldiers, just because you carry 40 of gear doesn't mean you should move slowly. Stamina is directly tied to survival. It's better to bite the dust while giving your all. Dimitri will take responsibility and pull you along. Scott thinks, this crazy stuff is basic training. And on top of that, Roman is at the front of the soldiers. Just why? We are introduced to another of Roman's personal guards, Hunt. He asks Scott, you've always seen commanders who don't lift a finger and only shout orders, right? Scott agrees. Hunt continues, our Lord is different. He always leads from the very front line. If we can't even keep up with this pace, then we don't even deserve to follow our Lord on the battlefield. After hearing Hunt, Scott thinks, is he saying Roman Dimitri is slowing the tempo for the guards? Hunt tells Scott to do his best, as the training is starting now. The intensive training continues until the afternoon. Out of breath, Scott thinks this is dangerous. While walking back, one of the guards collapses. Scott is shocked to see another person collapse. One of Roman's personal guards says he will carry the fallen soldier on his back and tells Hunt to lift the gear. Seeing Roman's guard carrying the others, Scott is shocked and thinks, are all the personal guards monsters? On the 10th day of training, Chris announces, you have all held up without anyone dropping out. Today, we will move on to the next step of basic acclimation training, the mind, art technique training. Chris then explains the training method to the personal guards. Scott thinks, finally, we are receiving the secret of Dimitri's strength. Chris tells them to put the basic concept aside for now. The martial art you will learn now is called Ishura Symbia. All of the personal guards, including Scott, are very happy to hear that. The guards sit cross-legged and begin the basic conditioning of the technique called sensing. After some time, Scott still can't feel any ma. He despairs, thinking he has no talent. 1 hour, then 2 hours pass. While doing mercenary work, Scott had spared no means or method to become an aura swordsman, but it was impossible to make a field where his talent never allowed it to become real. After 3 hours, Scott suddenly feels a sensation and can't believe it. He gets excited and wonders, am I feeling mana right now? It's sometimes warm, sometimes cold. This energy that tickles my skin. If even someone as talentless as Scott can feel mana in just 3 hours, it soon won't be an exaggeration to call Roman the founder of aura. Scott remembers Chris calling it Ishura Symbia. He thinks if he handed this over to the Kronos Empire, he could be guaranteed wealth and his family's safety. Scott believes he has fully done his part, but he wonders if that is really all there is to it. Chris tells the personal guards, from now on, training will proceed based on the Ishura Symbia. If someone shows rapid growth or achieves notable feats, that person will be taught a new martial art fitting their traits. One of the personal guards says Ishura Symbia is already excellent, and asks why a new martial art is needed. With an intense look, Chris tells the guard his question is based on a wrong premise. In Dimitri, Ishura Symbia is merely a basic martial art meant to teach beginners.